One Day at a Time and Why Netflix is Not Your Friend. The New York Times. Critics Notebook. On Thursday, Netflix canceled One Day at a Time after 3 seasons. This was a loss for, well, as the theme song says, this is life. And this is TV. Thank you Norman Lear for bringing the series back to television. Thank you Gloria, and to anyone who felt seen or represented you possibly for the first time. You by ODAAT, please don't take this as an indication your story is not important. The outpouring of, I am not a mind reader. Maybe the sentiment, TV outlets cancel shows all the time. But more often than so it frames the cancellation as less Netflix's decision than something that just happened to it. Simply not enough people watched. You could write a book about all the complications packed into that not enough. First of all, we have some objective sense of how many people watch American Idol and The Walking Dead and all the non-streaming shows measured by Nielsen. With Netflix, and even if we knew how many people streamed one day, would we know how many people short of enough that was? We would not. This is complicated by other unknowns. How much does in the end, though, enough means what it always does. A show gets cancelled when it's no longer worth it to the company that makes it. Netflix, like a lot of companies these days, likes to present itself on social media as having a personality and a playful voice. It doesn't just want, but Netflix isn't your buddy, any more than ABC or HBO or whoever made your TV set. No corporation, yet Netflix's statement you praising the cast and crew rightfully for their great work, saying the show felt like home. You positions Netflix as a disappointed fan, rather than a business that made a choice. Don't take this as an indication your story is not important, it says to fans who finally saw themselves represented in the show. That's nice, we must continue finding ways to tell these stories, it says. Hey, I found, on some level, I know, I am being unreasonable. I am not Netflix is not a charitable enterprise. It's well aware that, but long-term investments sometimes mean that when you have the high-class problem of creating an acclaimed show that doesn't have as many viewers as you'd like, you stick with it. Or at least.
Raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.